Hey everybody, it's Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi out here in Northern California. And today we're going to do a really fun tangle. This one's by Marguerite Sama and this is called Madama. This one up in the corner here, this is called Crest and that's by Suzanne Davis. And then we have Abundies up here and that's by Hani Nura. Really fun tangles, so here we go. For this class you're going to need to have a Pigma pen or a Micron PN. You'll need a regular pencil, no eraser because there are no mistakes in Zentangle, a white Prisma color pencil or whatever white color pencil came with your color set. Hopefully you have a color pencil set nearby. And last but not least, we will be using the Signo Uniball white pen. This is a great pen for doing white on tan work. So the piece today that we're working on is actually what we're calling the duo tile here at Tangled Yogi. It is a rustic tile and it has the Genesis tile, which is our white tile, which has been cut to be put on top. So that's why we're calling it the duo tile. And you will be able to pick those up at the Tangled Yogi store by the end of next week. If you are interested and you don't have one of those tiles nearby, you can also cut a square that's 4.5 by 4.5 and put a white sheet of paper in the inside that is 3.5 by 3.5 and you are off to the races. So let's get ourselves started here by getting ourselves centered. So let's take a moment to sit back into our chairs here and feel the back being supported by the chair. Allow your feet to connect with the floor and let your spine grow comfortably tall. Allow your eyes to close. And let's just take a moment to drop into the breath here. Breathing in and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. And one more time, inhaling and exhaling. Let's go ahead and roll the shoulders up towards the ears and then exhale, roll them back and down. Inhale, roll the shoulders up towards the ears. Exhale, roll them back and down. And last time, inhale, roll the shoulders up towards the ears. Exhale, roll them back and down. Softening in your eyes, relaxing through the chest and the belly, feeling completely at ease here. So that as we practice today, you can always come back to this place of being relaxed and at ease just by dropping into your breath. Let's take one more deep breath right here. Exhale. And starting to wiggle in your fingertips and in your toes. Blinking your eyes open. And let's get ready to tangle. Okay, so let's begin. I've got my trusty Zentangle pencil in my hand and we are just going to get ready to start. We're going to divide the page by creating our string. So I'm just starting from this upper corner right here and going to the lower corner down at the bottom. I'm going to turn my tile and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going from the upper corner down to the bottom corner. So that has created our string for the piece here, and I'm going to let go of my pen, or my pencil rather, and join in with my pen here. I'll start by making a dot right in the center of the piece here, and this is just going to be an anchor for me to begin. I'm going to come about 1 inch away from the center here, and I'll make another light dot, and this is just going to be another anchor for me. I'll come up and I'll start to make a leaf-like shape, just like so. I'll turn my tile, come away from the center about 1 inch, make a dot, and once again, make my leaf-like shape. Turning, make a dot about 1 inch away from the center here, and once again, make the shape. Turning, and once again, make the shape. I can see that my flower isn't perfect. It doesn't need to be. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's just making the flower, which is pretty and sweet. And then we'll come back into the center here and we'll start to make the center just a little bit larger, almost like we're doing a Bronx cheer here, and giving that a nice clean up there. So go ahead and do that part. Pause me here and I'll see you in a minute. So we're going to go ahead and start to work off the side of the piece here. I'm going to come up right here at the top and I'm going to make a flux-like shape right off the side here. And then I'll go over to the other side and I'll do the same thing right here. That starts to develop the shape of Madama. And we're going to begin to turn the tile and do the same thing. So we're starting from the tip, coming out of the side and rejoining. And once again, over to the opposite side and rejoining. Turning the tile, coming up from the top, out to the side, make that flux-like shape. And then once again, right there. Turning the tile, coming off of the top, and making that flux-like shape. If you need to catch up with us, go ahead and hit pause and I'll see you in a minute. So now we're going to start to build off of what we've just created. I'm going to come up to the top here where the corner is, and I'm going to jump back just about 1/4 of an inch, and I'll make a little dot there to make a little bit of a anchor for myself. You can see I'm going to blow that up for you here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and watch. I'm going to rejoin right into that line. See how that happened? And I'll come down to the other side and I'll do the same thing. I'm rejoining with that line, creating a really nice clean piece. Turning my piece to the side, coming up to the corner here, jumping back 1/4 of an inch, and then once again making that really nice leaf-like shape, rejoining with the line below, and the same thing coming over here, rejoining with the line below. I'll turn my tile and I'll do it again. Coming up to the corner, jump back 1/4, and once again rejoin with the line below, and once again rejoin with the line below. Turning, last time, right here, make that leaf-like shape, rejoin with the line below, and once again rejoin with the line below. If you need to pause, this is a great place to pause me, otherwise let's keep on rolling. So I'm going to come off the top here, not unlike what I just did down in this area right here. And I'm just going to make a flux-like shape that's also going to rejoin right into the side there. I'll come up here and do the same thing, off to the side and right back in again. Turn your tile, coming up, off to the side, make that flux-like shape, and once again over here, making that flux-like shape. Turn your tile, and we're going to do these last two. 1 and 2. Last one, right here. 1 and 2. If you need to pause me here to catch up, this is a great place to pause me. Otherwise, let's go ahead and keep on rolling. So I'm going to turn my tile so that it's on the diagonal here. I'll move this down just a little bit so you can see what I'm up to. I'm going to come right into this in-between space right here, and I'm going to make a dot. I'm going to come out about, I'm going to say 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of the piece, and I'll make a little dot. At the end of that dot, I'm going to start to make a rounded A shape, okay? And then I'll come off of that dot, not like how I did on the other side here, or not unlike how I did on the other side. So we're just carrying that same theme over and over again. Turning, coming away from the border about 1/4 of an inch. Once again, making that A shape, and then rounding off. Turning, coming out from the edge about 1/4 of an inch, make that A shape, round the edge, Last time right here. Coming back from the edge about 1/4 of an inch, make the A shape, and then do the rounding off. And you have just created Madama. If you need to pause me right here, this is a great spot. Take a minute to finish up, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so now we're going to begin to work with our next part here, and that's going to be that we're going to start to work in the exterior. We'll come back to Madama a little bit later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by making a dot in each corner of this area right over here. Can everybody see that? Now what I'll do is I'll connect my dots like so, and you'll notice that I am a little bit away from that center piece so that I'm creating a little bit of a border with the tan paper around the white paper. I'll go up to this next corner and I'll do the same thing. 3 dots, 1 dot here, 1 dot here, and 1 dot there. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and connect those dots, and notice that I'm still away from the border or away from the white piece here. So go ahead and finish up these 2 sides, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to go all the way around your piece here, and we're going to start to work in the triangle that's just above our piece. So you can see I'm in the flat area just above Madama here, and I'm going to blow this up so that you can see this area really well, and I'm going to start to do a tangle called Crest, and I'll come right in here in this corner, but I'm leaving a little bit of space here, and I'm going to round up, and then I'll pause when I get to the top here. Now if you need to pause and catch up with me, you can. Otherwise I'm just going to keep on going. I'm going to reconnect with this line, and I'm going to go ahead and make a little bit of a swirl there. Once I've made the swirl, I'm going to go right back to the top and swing out, creating a little bit of movement in my wave. I'm going to aura this line now by rejoining at the top, and 1, 2, and 3. So there's my wave right there. So we're going to do crest on the other side as well, and you can see that I've already had an opportunity to do it, so that when you do your crest, it will be right here and right here. Okay? So go ahead and do your crest on both sides, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, so you can see I've had a chance to do it on both sides here, and now I'm going to start to work in these 2 triangles right here, and we're going to do a really fun tangle. This is called Abundies, and I really love this tangle. I think it's really fun. So I'm going to blow this up here, make that nice and large for you, and I'm going to come into this triangle right here. We'll drop down from the top just a little bit and make a dot, and then make a dot right here at the bottom. Now you'll notice that I'm in the middle of this line right here when I made that. So let's go ahead and make a leaf-like shape, not unlike what we just did in Madama here. So I have that leaf-like shape, and we're also going to continue that movement off the top of the piece just like we did in Madama. So I'm just going to come out here, and I'm going to round out and rejoin at the bottom like so. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Now note, I'm going to come down, I'm going to step down just a little bit, and I'll do it again. I'll come right over here and do the same. We're going to do one more step down right here, and then one more step down right over here. Now you see that I have space on the sides here. I'm going to go ahead and make a little bit of an elongated crescent moon on each side. This is going to be for my Abundies. That one was a little bit more of a lazy crescent moon there, but it's just fine. So I'm going to come up now out of the side, and I'm just going to do 2 round offs. I'll go 1 and 2, and then I'll come over here and I'll go 1 and 2. If you need to pause me here, this is a great place to pause me and catch up. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on rolling. Okay, so on the inside here, we're going to go ahead and start to add a little bit of detailing. So on the inside, I'm going to make 3 tipples. 1, and you want to make them fairly large, 2, and then I'm going to go right here and make a 3. Now I'm going to make some small tipple right next to those fairly large ones. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and add a line that goes all the way through, and then I'm going to aura that line on both sides. Now you'll note when I get to the tipple, I'm not going through the tipple, I'm going around it. You can see that I'm lifting my pen up and not intersecting those bubbles. And that gives it a really neat Art Deco feel. Now finally, to finish off in this area, we're going to come in with our pens and very lightly start to puddle in the areas around that piece. So you can see I'm just going in to those kind of weird little triangle areas and very lightly adding in those little filled in areas. That's just going to make this whole Abundies pop and really give a lot of drama to that particular tangle. Now you can see that I'm barely letting my pen touch the page. I'm working in a circular like motion with my pen. You see how it's just little circles that are going around? That helps to alleviate any kind of color poking in from underneath. One of the things that I love with working with black is you can always clean up your lines as you're going along. So go ahead and finish puddling around this area right here, and then we're going to go to the opposite side and start to create our Abundies on the opposite side. So you can see that I'm just kind of filling in all around those little leaves there. And then if I back out a little bit now, you can really see that that starts to give a lot of gravity to the piece. So let's come down here and do the same exact thing that we just did up there. Okay? I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so you can see that we've had a chance to finish up the Abundies in here. And you know, one of the things that I neglected to talk about with Crest is that we were going to add some tipple into that area right there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to add some tipple. And I'm going to start with one big tipple first, one little tipple, and then one teeny tiny tipple. And that's going to be the spray of the ocean. And then I'm going to come along the top here of this piece, and I'm going to very gently now just add a couple of dots going across the back of the wave here. And we'll go ahead and we'll flip the piece and we'll do the same exact thing on the other side. So once again, 3 tipple, 1, 2, and 3, making the spray of the ocean, and then adding some dots right around the back of the wave. So I'm very excited. We have made our beautiful piece here. We're going to start to work now with the interior of Madama. So if you need to pause me, this is a great place to pause me. Otherwise, we're going to just keep on cruising. So I'm going to come into Madama here, and I'm going to start with the center. I'll make a line and put a circle right at the end of it, turning the tile, make a line going about halfway up, and make a circle on the end. Same thing here, and same thing here. If you need to pause me to catch up, this is a great place to do it. Otherwise, let's keep on rolling. So you can see that I have these flecks right on the outside here. So I'm just going to come up from the bottom and aura the inside of that flex. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Now what I'll do is I'll come in and I will start to puddle inside of that flex. Your pen is just barely tickling the page. The lighter you go, the more the ink flows, right? So then I'll come right in here and I'll do the same thing. I'm just going to go right up the side, create a little flux on the inside. I'll do the same thing on the other side. And jump right back down again. I'll go in and I'll puddle that area. Now if you need to grab a puddling pen that has a little bit of a thicker feel to it, you could always go and grab an Identi-pen, or you could also grab the Tombow dual brush pen. That's one of my favorites. But because this is such a small area in here, I've just gone in with my Pigma pen. It was not that big of an area to work on. Then I'll come into the other side and I'll do the same thing. So you can see that I'm just working in those circular-like motions here. Just really starting to fill in the area. And then once again, just cleaning up your lines. So what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to go around to all 4 of your petals. So when you come over here, it's these 2 right here and these 2 right here. Same thing, these 2 and these 2. And then finally right in here as well. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so you can see I've had a chance to go all the way around with the piece, and now we're going to add the final detailing for our drawing today, and that is going to be where we're going to work with the surrounding space in here, this negative space that I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a tangle. It's called Nekton. And I saw it in the teacher's manual and I really loved it, and I've seen it in a bunch of places and I think it's a beautiful tangle. So the way that Nekton works is you're going to go ahead and start by making a few lines. So I'm just going to start by making these lines right here, and then all of a sudden I'm going to switch direction. You can see that I'm just starting to go on a diagonal here. Now, one of the things that I love about this tangle is that you can just keep on switching directions and it just makes a beautiful pattern. You don't have to be overly thoughtful about it. You just need to make sure that you're paying attention. So I'm just switching it up and changing it out. And you can see that my pen is just going along doing the work, and wherever I have the space to change direction is where I'm going to do that. So you can see that I just kind of switched it out in there, and it's already starting to make a really beautiful tangle. So I'm just going to continue to work my way around the piece, and I'll go all the way around in that fashion where I'll just be changing direction. Now you can see it's a little tight in here, so I'm just going to make one straight line going right through, and then all of a sudden I'll change direction again. So when I get up here, I might go and just change straight out and try something different. So really you can play with this tangle in such a way where it really doesn't matter which direction you move in, because it always looks beautiful. It always ends up looking like thatching. So give it a chance, give it a try, go all the way around the piece, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so you can see that I've had a chance to go all the way around the piece here, and I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. So now it is time to pick a color. We need to start to think about what color is going to be in the center here, and I'm pretty partial to a really nice turquoise. So I'm going to grab a turquoise, and I'm going to grab a darker blue. So you can see I've got a turquoise and a blue here. And I want to talk about color theory for a second. For those of you who have never taken any classes with me at Tangled Yogi, what we're doing is we're looking at this pencil, and this pencil in particular has 3 colors. It has light, it has medium, and it has dark. Now, when you have something that has such a light viscosity, and what that means is the body of the color is really, really light, sometimes you'll want to have a complementary color nearby to give you some depth when you're shading. So we're going to have this complementary color nearby to give us that depth, so you can see that when I put it over that turquoise, it really gets a nice feel to it. So I'm going to flip my tile, and we're gonna go right to work. So I'm gonna come into this petal here, and you can see that as I'm starting, I'm working that petal in a circular motion here. The pencil is working in a circular motion, so I get a nice smoky appeal. I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger so that you can see what's going on here. So I've got that nice soft feeling, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come right back in again, and I am going to give it a little bit more pressure, doing that medium pressure, which is really quite lovely, and it gives it a nice feel on that one side of the petal. Now I'll come in with that blue, that darker blue, and I will go in and add a little bit of that depth right along the side here where I have that line. And you can see just by adding a little bit of that blue, it really gives it quite a nice feeling. It gives it a little bit of depth. Now, if you ever feel like there's not a good blend for you between your light, your medium, and dark, you can always grab a white pencil, and you can see this white pencil's got a little bit of pink on it. Can you see that? So that was one that I used. I need to clean that pencil just by scratching it off a little bit. Now the pencil is clean. You always want to make sure that your white pencil is clean. And then I'm going to come in over here, and I'm very, very lightly going to soften that color pencil with a little bit of light. Now notice I did not go into the side, I just blended in just a little bit around that light color. Okay, so go ahead, you're going to do all of these petals right here, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so you can see I've had a chance to go all the way around. Now we need to think about our adjoining petals right here, these big guys. So think about what color you've seen leaves be before, and something that would be pleasing to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an orange and a red to have nearby, and I'm just going to start right in here first. And I'll come in and I'll use that orange, and you can tell that I'm going in that nice light tension. I'm working the pencil around in a circle here, and I'm really just making sure that I make that area saturated with color, not heavy color, but just saturated with color. So I'm coming in, finishing up that whole area in here, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to do my shading again. So I'll come in and use a little bit heavier tension. You can start to see that it's got a little bit darker color around the edge, and I'm filling that in, giving it a little bit of depth. And I'll go around the other side as well, giving that side a little bit of depth. And then I'll also go around my flux and get that to have a little bit of depth so that it has a really nice shadowy feel. Now I'll grab that red, it's a nice warm red, to give my orange a little bit more push. And that way it's going to start to glow a little bit. You can see that that's filling in that area and giving it a little bit more glow. I'll come in over here as well, give that a little bit more depth. And then if you feel like you have a line of demarcation, you can come in with that white pencil and start to blend it in a little bit, just to make it feel a little bit softer. So I've got that moving in, giving it a little bit of softness. I still feel as though I have a little bit of a line of demarcation, so I'm going to walk back in there with some of that orange and blend it in a little bit more. So you're going to go around all your leaves and do what I just did, and I'll see you in a minute. So you can see I've had a chance to go all the way around, and now we're going to start to work with our petals that are right in here. And I've got this really pretty purple lavender color and then a darker purple right next to it, so I'm going to use both of these. So what I'll do is I'll start by using the lighter color first, coming into this really beautiful petal here, and starting to work in that circular-like motion to give it a little bit of softness. And once I've had that opportunity to give that a little bit of softness, now I'm just going to shade on one side of it. So I'm just going to come in right here, add a little bit of medium tension. And once I've had the opportunity to give that a little bit of medium tension, then I'm going to grab that other color, that nice dark color here. And you can see that I'm just going to really hug the edges of the piece with that purple. And then I'll start to blend it into that medium tension. So I've got my white pencil nearby. We want to make sure that that pencil is nice and clean. And then you'll go in, make sure that that's clean there. And then I'll come in and add a little bit of that white into that area to get it to blend a little bit more organically. And once I've gotten that really nice kind of smoky blend, I'll go all the way around and do the other three. Go ahead and do the same and I'll see you in a minute. Alright, so you can see I've gone all the way around and I'm really enjoying the dimension that that color has given. You can see it almost has a real three-dimensionalness about it. So we're going to start to work now with our thatching area that is going all the way around the piece here. And I've got that same two turquoise colors that I worked with earlier in the center, and we're going to use it to create a little bit of something that I like to call it color seeping, is the best way that I can describe it. So we want it to look like colors emanating from the piece itself. So I'm going around the outside of the piece here, and you can see that it's a very, very light tension that I'm putting on the pencil. And I'm not going all the way to the edge. I'm really just shading the outside area just to give a softness to it, almost like a smokiness to it. And I'll just do the upper half of this piece here so that you can see what I'm talking about. So it almost looks like water is floating out of it a little bit, or it's like a shore that's around the piece itself. I'll come up in here and I'll do the same. Now you can see that it's a little bit tight up in there, and that's just fine. I'm not overly concerned about that. Coming around the corner here and then just moving through on the side. So now once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab that darker color. So here's the darker color, and you can see that I'm just going to start to work along the edge here to create a little bit of a deeper shadow, and I'm not applying a ton of pressure to that pencil. Really, the darkness of that color should be enough all by itself. So I'm just getting in there and putting in that deeper color here and getting over in here. And you want to make sure that any areas around the piece that are white are really getting filled in, because it will really give that a sense of richness. So you can see that I've had a chance to work my way around the piece, and I want you to go ahead and finish up the other side too, and we'll meet back here in a minute. Take your time, enjoy what you're doing. Don't forget to breathe and relax. Enjoy the zen of shading. See you soon. Okay, so you can see I've had a chance to go all the way around, and I really love the way that this is starting to look. It's quite beautiful. Now I'm going to take my same two turquoise colors that I used, and I'm going to come up to the crest. Now you may have a different color in the center, and that's just fine. I'm just going to continue to carry my colors around. But if you want to grab a blue or like a seafoam green, whatever color you want to see in your wave, that's the color we're going to use. So I'm going to start by coming in here, and I just want to move this so that I'm going to get it really nice and close for you to see. So here I am, I'm coming in with that really pretty turquoise color, and you can see I'm working that pencil in a circular motion. Now notice how far back I am on that pencil. That's really important to note. If you're all the way up here, you can't get a really nice distribution, but if you're back here, you can get a really great distribution of color. So I'm coming all the way around onto this wave here and really filling in that whole area with a nice light color of turquoise. Now I'll go back in right in here, and you'll notice I'm starting to put a little bit more pressure on that pencil. So we're at a medium tension on that pencil. Now, as you know, it doesn't have a lot of viscosity to it, not enough body to give me the depth that I'm looking for. So I'll grab my blue, my darker blue here, and I'm gonna come in now and start to really give it the depth that it's owed, right? So we really wanna give it that nice shadow, which is so beautiful. So it really creates a lot of depth in there. Now, remember that white pencil that we love so much? Well, we're gonna have to make sure that it's clean, and then we come in with that white pencil and we start to shade into the bottom area here. So you'll start to see that that gives that a really interesting progression of color. And then I'll come right back in on the top and I'll do the same thing right here on the top. Getting that nice highlight right there in the top. And that is our wave. So when you're ready, you can go ahead and flip to the other side as well and do your wave. So there you are. Go ahead, take a breath, and dive in. Okay, so you can see I've had a chance to do both of the waves here, and I'm really happy with the way that they've turned out. So I'm going to also continue to carry the color. So one of the things that I did in here is I really love this orange. So I'm going to take that orange and I'm going to make it the background for the sky. And one of the things that I love is I've been to Hawaii a couple of times and I've seen beautiful sunsets there with lots of orange in them. So I'm going in with my orange and I'm working with my lighter color first and really just adding that color in very easily with that circular-like motion. Now you'll notice that when I get around my tipple, I'm going to be mindful and not fill those in because later on I'll fill those in with a different color. So I've got that orange going on in there, and you can see how far back I am on my pencil. That helps me to distribute the color more easily, and just with that nice circular-like motion, you can see that the pencil's working in that circular way. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more tension just along the edges here, so you can see that I'll start to develop a little bit of depth around the outside of the border here. You know, just getting in there and adding some of that orange right along that border. Getting in here and down in here. And right over here. Now I'll grab that darker orange, that reddish, it's like a reddish orange, and I'm coming in and I'm adding a little bit more of that tension right around the corner here. And you can see that that is giving it a glow that is really quite lovely. Getting in there and really letting that be pronounced. I want to make sure that that blends off just a little bit so that it's not too harsh. Now, if you feel like you are getting a really heavy line of demarcation, and let me just make sure that that's really big and luscious for you to see. Now, I've got my white pencil in there. I want to make sure that that pencil is clean. Can't reiterate that enough. And I'll go in right around the area where some of the dark and the light are meeting, and I'm blending it in. So you can see that that's giving that a really soft appeal. And it really does look like it's a sunset back behind that wave, which I really like. And if you feel like you're losing some of that medium, you can come back in and work right over the top of that white pencil, which is something that I really love. It's very forgiving. And it's just blending that in so nicely. So go ahead and do both sides, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, well, this is really starting to come along here. I'm very much enjoying this. And so we're going to start to work with Abundies, and Abundies are these beautiful flowers up in here. I love the way that the orange, though, is passing through here. It's just quite lovely. So I'm going to bring this down here and make it a little bit bigger for you to see, make it a lot easier for you to see. I'm starting back with that same purple that I used right in here. I'm sure you can see the tip of my pencil there. So I'm starting with the lightest color first, and I'm coming into the petals of Abundies, and I'm just very lightly shading in all of those petals. You can see I'm not being precious with it. I'm just letting that color make its way onto the piece and really just letting it saturate the page. That nice light tension, very easy, very soft. So once you have that, what we're going to do is we're going to start to add a little bit more of the shading. So I have that nice light tension. Now you'll notice that these pieces right here, I'm not going to do anything with those. I'm going to wait. So I'm going to come in now and I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of that medium tension right along the outside edge of that lotus piece that's right in the middle. I'll come over here, I'll do the same exact thing. Same thing over here. Coming over here. Really making sure that I'm getting that shading in. Now once I've had that opportunity to get all the way around in here, I'm going to grab that darker pencil, and now we're going to really start to get into that depth. So you can see that as I start to add that darkness, it starts to glow a little bit more. It's giving that a little bit of variety and interest. Getting in there, going all the way through. Put that right in there, and that's right in here. Now, once I've done that, grabbing that really beautiful white pencil again, and I'm just starting to add more of that white just right on the edge. And notice how that softens it and it starts to glow. It gives it a little bit of a blend. So I'll come in here, I'll do the same thing right over here, same thing over here, and right in here. Now I'll come over to these guys that are down in this corner. Now because they're so slight, I'm really only adding just a little bit of the dark purple in there. And then I'll come in with that white and add a little bit of that white right on top, and that's going to give those a little bit of a glow as well. Final piece right here. I'm going to actually make these leaves in here. So I'll just go in and add those as a nice leaf right in there. And then we'll talk about this middle piece after you've had a chance to do your petals. So do both sides, the top and the bottom, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so now we're going to start to work on the interior. And once again, I'm going to start to carry this color from here up into here. So going in with that nice orange there, I'm starting to work with that piece a little bit, get around the tipple as much as I can so that I'm not putting any color in them. And then I'll go back in, add a little bit of depth around the sides of the tipple, or around the sides of the walls of the inside of that lotus there, the Abundies. Then I'll grab that darker red that I've been doing my deeper shading with and really make sure that that starts to glow. Now, remember this blue that I had down here? I'm grabbing this blue and I'm going to bring it into the tipple so that it just gives it a little pop. Now you'll notice that I'm leaving one side of the tipple light, and that is going to be where I put in a little bit of the white. So I'll add a little bit of white right in there to really just get that to pop. And then if you have enough room, you can grab your darker color and just shade the wall of that tipple to get it to really glow. So use that up, put that all in there, go to the other side and do the same thing, and I'll see you in a minute. So I'm really falling in love with this. The way that it's looking is very rich and dreamy. I like it very much. So we're going to start to work with the tipple and crest. So we're coming back to this guy right here. I'm going to blow that up for you. And we're going to take the purple that is in here and we're going to bring it up in here. So I'm working with that light purple and I'm coming in and filling it in. Getting in there and filling it in. And then I'll grab that darker purple and just hug the wall of that tipple there. So really just hugging the wall. And then we'll grab that final white piece and really let that have a little bit of brightness in there. Just like so. You can see this one needs a little bit more attention, so I'm going to give that a little bit more attention. So go ahead and do the tipple on the other side and we'll meet up here. Okay, so we're going to start to work with our white pen. I'm using the Uniball Signo. That's my favorite pen. And we're going to start to do some highlighting around the piece. And we'll start by working with the interior first and then working our way around. So I'm going to come into the center pieces here. And I'm turning my tile to make it easier for you to see. I'll come in right here and pre-warning you that sometimes the Signo can be a little bit cantankerous to work with. Tip here is the lighter you go with your pen, the easier the ink will flow. So you can see that I just added a little bit of a line in there followed by a couple of dots. And I'll do it again just so that you can see it. So I'm coming in with that pen right here. Trying to make sure that I can get it to start, and then adding a couple of dots here and a couple of dots there. Go all the way around the flower and I'll see you in a minute. So I really feel like this is giving it a little bit of sparkle, which is quite nice. I'm going to start to work with these guys right over here, and I'll turn my tile to make it easy for myself. Coming over into this area right in here, I'm just going to start to add a little bit of that white right in here, adding a couple of dots at the bottom and a couple of dots at the top, maybe one or two. And then I'll go over to the next side and do the same thing. So coming in, making sure that your pen is working really, really well. Add a little bit of color there, or a little bit of white, add a couple of dots, and just keep on moving. Go around, do the rest of yours, and I'll meet up with you in a sec. Okay, so I've had that chance to work in there. Now I'm going to start to work with crest. So we're coming back to our wave here. And I'm going to come to the top of crest here, and I'll start to add a little bit of white right in at the top. You can see that my pen is being a little cantankerous with me. So I'm going to just work it out, get that pen to start up on a piece of scratch paper. And you can see there's that little white that I needed, and then I'll add a couple of dots at the bottom and maybe a couple of dots right over here. I'll flip my tile and I'll do the same thing right over here. So I'm just going to come in, add that white right at the top, do a couple of dots right there, a couple of dots over here, and voila, you have a nice highlight onto these pieces. Now, what I want to do with the area around crest is I want to magnify it a little bit. So I'm just going to go to the outside edge here, and I'm just going to do an aura around the outside edge. And you can see that my pen is being a little cantankerous, but it's okay. It's finally starting to kick in for me here. And I'm just going around the whole piece here. You can see that I'm being very, very thoughtful with the way that I'm moving the pen. I'm not rushing it. So I'm just going all the way around the piece and giving it a little bit of an outline. And that's really quite nice. It's giving it a little bit of a glow. So go ahead to the other side and do the same thing, and I'll see you in a minute. So I've had a chance to go around crest, and I'm going to just clean up that corner right in there. Now we're going to start to work with the tipple in there, and I'll just go in and give it just a little bit of a C right there on the corner there. just to give that a little bit of light. And you can see that little baby one, you can just do a little dot in there, and then I'll give it a little bit of movement. I'll turn my tile over and do the same thing on this side. A little bit of a C there, a little C over here. And that should give you a really nice highlight inside the tipple. Now if you need to pause me, you can pause me there. Otherwise I'm going to start to work with Abundies. So I'm just going to come into Abundies and just add a little bit of lightness right on the outside edge where that white is. So you can see I'm just going in, adding a little bit of that light, maybe a couple of dots. A couple of dots in there. Same thing on this side, coming in. And just adding a little bit of that light into the piece. And you can see what a lovely little highlight that is. I do love the white pen, especially with color. Really, really nice. So go over to the other side of Abundies and do that, and I'll see you in a minute. So we've had a chance to do both Abundies. Now I'm going to go into the tipple here and just add a little bit of light inside the tipple. I'll come right in there, and right in here, and right in here, and right in there. And that gives that a really, really nice glow. I'll flip it and I'll do the same thing on the opposite side. Now I must admit, one thing that is bothering me here is that I did not add any darker green to the outside of these leaves. So I'm just going to come in with a little bit of a darker green right here and add just a little dimension. It was just starting to bug me and I just had to pull out my pencils and do it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it to the opposite side as well. Just like so. So go ahead and finish those up and I'll see you in a minute. All right, still working with the Bundys here just a little bit. So we're just going to come around the outside of the piece here with our pen and really just we're kind of capping off the triangle here and then adding a couple of dots to the outside and then going down over here and capping off the side of this triangle and doing it again, a couple of dots and a couple of dots. And I'm coming over here, capping off that part of the triangle and a couple of dots and a couple of dots. So it's a little bit different on this side. And then we'll flip it and do the same thing on the opposite side. So take a moment, finish up this side, and I'll see you soon. So it's really starting to look really beautiful. And I'm realizing that I didn't have a chance to actually go into these little pieces right in here all the way around our piece. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to carry color into there. And I'll come in and I'll use a little bit of that orange just to add a little bit of contrast next to that blue. And I'll come into the bottom of the piece, add a little bit of darkness right in the tips there. And then I'll grab that red that we've been using, or whatever color it was that you used on your leaves over here, and fill that in, really just give it a nice kind of shiny feel to it. So I'm going to go all the way around to all those pieces and do the same thing. Okay, so it really looks quite lovely. I'm really enjoying the piece and I hope that you are too. I've had a chance to go ahead and sign my name. I put my little initials right here in the corner there, and I always encourage people to sign their work as a way of finishing the meditation, as it were. And you can always flip over your tile and sign your name on the back of it too, and state, you know, what the year was and all that jazz. Today's the 31st and it is 2019. So then that way when I go back and look at it, I know that it was a really good experience for me. I just want to talk about the tiles. The tiles can be purchased at tangledyogi.com. We have a really cute store that you can check things out at. And also you'll notice that I was working on the Ergo easel today. I've been doing a lot of tangling and my neck and shoulders were getting a little bit tired. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to pull out the Ergo easel and work with that. And it's really been much better for my neck and my shoulders. So you might want to check out the Ergo easel as well. Well, I thank you for joining us. If you want to follow along with me on Facebook and on Instagram, we're Tangled Yogi at both of those sites. Also, you know that we are on YouTube, and if you could please give us a like or a good review, that will help us a lot with our presence on social media and help us to get more visibility. So until we tangle again, I'm Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi. See you soon.